Senator Kennedy is recognized from Louisiana for 5 minutes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Chairman Powell, I want to start unusually for me with a statement as opposed to a question. I have been very supportive of you and the Federal Reserve and its independence. That was my position with the Trump administration. It will be my position for what it's worth with the Biden administration. And in fact, I have said both publicly and privately, Mr. Chairman, that the single most important thing that was done to save the world economy, not the American economy alone, the world economy from melting down at the during the shutdown last March, was your decision to implement a foreign currency swap line when the whole world was not looking for treasuries, they were looking for dollars. There's an effort going on worldwide to blur the line between government and politics on the one hand and central banks and their independence on the other. I see every day central banks getting more and more involved in fiscal policy and lobbying legislators with respect to the adoption of fiscal policy. I've noticed that the Bank of England has announced in its QE program that it is going to stop purchasing corporate bonds from companies that it thinks has too big of a carbon footprint. I've noticed recently that the Reserve Bank of New Zealand has decided it's going to start in its policy making, its monetary policy, taking account of housing prices. Now, this is where I'm headed, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome to Liberty Trigger. Patriots. Senator John Kennedy just did what few in Washington have the guts to do. He looked Jerome, Powell, and Janet Yellen straight in the eye and told them the truth. He warned them to keep the Federal Reserve independent and stop turning American tax dollars into global giveaways. Let's break down what just happened and why it matters to every hard-working American watching this right now. Stick around because this is important. And hey, while you are here, if you believe in holding our leaders accountable and you appreciate this kind of breakdown, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss a thing. Let's get down to it.
Mr. Chairman, the Federal Reserve needs to maintain its independence in America. Your credibility depends on political independence. I give you Turkey if you don't believe me. And besides that, the Federal Reserve and the good people in it are unelected. They don't have democratic accountability. And my concluding point, and I'm just going to ask you to respond briefly. Some people are going to beat on you, Mr. Chairman, like you stole Christmas to get involved in social policy in the guise of economic policy. And for the long-term health of the Federal Reserve, you need to resist that.
Thank you, Senator. So I do think Fed independence, and thank you for your strong support on that. I do think that Fed independence is an institutional arrangement that has served the public well over time. And I am strongly committed to continuing it. I also would agree that getting off of our home base and straying from our mandate is something that will put independence at risk over the long term, because we have this precious independence because we have a limited mandate and we stick to it. If we're going to be playing on every issue, then the case for our independence weakens. We should have as little. There should be very few examples of independent agencies that aren't part of the administration.
And you're one of them, Mr. Chairman. And I apologize for cutting you off, but I want to stay within my time, and I need to ask Secretary Yellen a question. Secretary Yellen, the Biden administration's plan, and it is your plan, to require the IMF to issue $1 trillion of these SDRs, new SDRs, is going to cost the American taxpayer about $180 billion. Now, your reason for doing that is a good reason. You say you want to help poor countries. But you and I both know that only about 10% of that money is going to go to poor countries. It's not going to help poor countries. It's going to help if they cash in their SDRs. It's going to help China. It's going to help Russia. It's going to help Venezuela. And besides that, under your plan, you're intentionally splitting the plan into two tranches of $500 billion each to avoid having to come before Congress. And I don't understand why it is efficient to charge the American taxpayer $180 billion, all of which we have to borrow, and you say you're doing it to help poor countries, and only 10% is going to poor countries, and even more is going to Russia and to China.
I'm sorry, it's not going to cost the taxpayer $180 billion.
Sure it is. You have to borrow the money. You don't have the money sitting in a checking account.
The IMF.
They're going to redeem those SDRs, not just the poor countries, but China.
There are many countries that can provide hard currencies in return for SDRs, including the United States. If the United States does agree to provide SDRs, it will have to issue Treasury bills or debt to do it, but it will also.
I rest my case.
I'm sorry, but it will also earn interest on any amounts that it converts on behalf of other countries, and it will be essentially a wash.
But the money will never be paid back.
And it will pay. It does. There is no money to be paid back.
Sure.
It doesn't matter. The interest that we earn on any excess SDR holdings offsets the cost of issuing treasuries, and it's essentially a wash, and it is not costly.
I disagree with you, Madam Secretary. I think I'm no disrespect, but I think you're wrong. I think we're going to have to borrow all $180 billion of this.
I don't know where you got a number like that from.
Well, when China comes to redeem its SDRs and says we want dollars, where do you think we're going to get the money? We're going to borrow it. I've gone over. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, but this is an important issue. I'll call you, Madam Secretary.
Okay, I'd be glad to talk about it offline.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Senator Kennedy. Senator Cortez Masto from Nevada.
Kennedy started strong, reminding Powell that the Fed's independence is vital. He even praised Powell for helping save the global economy during the pandemic. But then he hit him with the warning. Central banks around the world are getting too political. He called out the Bank of England for refusing to buy corporate bonds from companies with large carbon footprints, and the Reserve Bank of New Zealand for factoring in housing prices. That's not economics. That's social activism. Kennedy said it best. The Fed's credibility depends on staying apolitical. Because when unelected bankers start chasing social agendas instead of focusing on prices and jobs, that's when America starts to look a lot like Turkey, where politics ruined their currency. Then Kennedy turned to Janet Yellen, and that's when sparks flew. He questioned the Biden administration's plan for the IMF to issue $1 trillion in what they call special drawing rights. Yellen claims it's to help poor countries, but Kennedy pointed out the truth. Only about 10% would go to the poor. The rest? Straight to China, Russia, and Venezuela. He warned that this would cost U.S. taxpayers around $180 billion, money we'd have to borrow. And he's right. We're drowning in debt already. Yellen tried to argue it wouldn't really cost anything, that it would all balance out. But that's classic Washington doublespeak. You can't hand out $1 trillion and pretend it's free. Somebody pays, and that somebody is you. Here's the bottom line, patriots. What Kennedy exposed is a slow march toward global control of America's money. The Biden team and their globalist allies want to use our dollars to fund socialist regimes while calling it economic aid. Meanwhile, the Fed, which is supposed to be independent, is inching closer to political activism. This is how freedom fades, not with bang, but with $1 trillion helping hand. Kennedy's right. We've got to resist. The Fed should serve America, not the world. And our Treasury should protect our taxpayers, not China's bottom line. So, thank you, Senator Kennedy, for standing up for American sovereignty, for common sense, and for every patriot who's tired of paying for everyone else's problems. If you agree with Senator Kennedy, hit that like button, share this video, and drop a comment below. Should the Fed stay out of politics? Or are we already too far gone? Stay strong, stay free, and God bless America.